Welcome to the MPG Podcast, where your host John Graybeal talks racing, driving, training, and cars with Team Stradale driver Jordan Missig. And now, here's John and Jordan.
Well, it is September 3rd, and welcome to the MPG Podcast. I'm John Graybeal, and we have Jordan Missig live from the Missig Performance Group Studios. That was difficult to say this evening for me.
It's a little tongue twister, isn't it?
It is. I'm somewhere in New Jersey, Atlantic City, somewhere at some Holiday Inn somewhere. So happy to be talking to you. So tell me, pretty easy weekend for you? No racing, right?
No, Labor Day weekend. So nice, easy weekend for us. You know, weekend to get off. It's rare for us nowadays to see like we have a week off. I mean, this is probably like out of the whole summer, my third week off, I think, out of the whole summer I've had. So 3 weeks off now, and then I think I have next week off, and then I'm back to racing after that.
Did you do any practicing or anything, or did you literally take it off?
I literally Saturday I was on the kart track for a little bit. Did some laps around there, tried to dial the kart in a little bit, get some more performance out of it to see what we can do. And then Sunday and Monday was just days off to myself and just kind of just do whatever we wanted to do. I know we went to a friend's house over on Labor Day, so I would say on Sunday we were over there for a little bit. So had some fun, relaxing weekend.
Oh, very nice, very nice. I got a few things done myself yesterday morning, and then had a little cookout, and it was all great for us.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Well,
Mitch enjoy himself?
Yeah, I think so. He worked on a rally car, and him and his buddy learned how to push start the dead battery rally car, and because the starter went out. I guess first it was a dead battery. They jumped it, learned how to jump it. Then the starter died, so they learned how to push start it.
Oh, boy.
Worked on some motorcycles. So, yeah, they were outside. Him and his buddy were outside just tearing it up yesterday. It was all good.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, Mitch is my son for everybody that's the listeners. My 15-year-old future professional race car driver, which he hopes to be at someday. Speaking of which, tomorrow, Wednesday on the 4th, he starts my brother-in-law is a professional sports trainer, fitness trainer. Mm-hmm. And so tomorrow he starts a racing fitness program.
Wow.
So I'm excited for him to do that. He's trying to step up his game in any way he can. So I don't know anything about that. I'm not even home, so it's up to I'm leaving it to them. However, I do have you to talk to about that. So let's jump right in. Fitness program. We all know that all the high-end professional racers are doing some type of program. What are your thoughts on it, and what should my son expect, I guess?
I encourage it 100%. You need to have it if you're going to be a race car driver for sure. You need to stay fit, especially with high performance cars and the cars that are at the professional level nowadays. They take so much out of you, and you're going through so many G-forces that your body needs to be in tune and trained for it. I've seen multiple guys. One particular in series is, if anybody's seen the new Netflix series that was out earlier this year, the F1 Drive to Survive series. You guys saw a bunch of like fitness programs that all the drivers were going through, a bunch of fitness, cardio work, long distance running that they were doing, strength training, you name it. They were doing like all sorts of these exercises to train themselves for the cars that they're racing. And those cars demand a ton out of your body. So they need to make sure all their bones, all their muscles and everything are in tip top shape when they're doing that. So I 100% encourage fitness, anything you can do to strengthen your body out, and especially the right bones that you need to work on for when you're driving a race car.
Yes. I did see that. I thought it was actually, this is the first year I just watched about 3 races that I had taped we don't tape anymore, do we? I had recorded. Sorry, I'm old school. That we had recorded. So yeah, I'm almost caught up to the Formula One. I had avoided all news, so I'm almost all caught up to the. I didn't watch the very last Formula One race, but anyway, back to fitness. Yes, that was a big part of that series, particularly neck fitness that I noted. When you're driving, are you in your Radical, which is a very high performance car, are you cognizant of the G forces on your head? I think your head weighs like 30 pounds, right? So multiply that, your 2 Gs, it weighs 60 pounds. 3 Gs, it weighs 90 pounds.
Yes.
So you got a big lever arm up there moving around. Are you conscious of straining against that when you're driving, or?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, for instance, for here at Audubon, when we go through turn 4 and south, our cars in the Radicals, we can take that corner flat out, full throttle, never lift out the brake, or never even think about touching the brake, never lift out the gas. We're full blown the whole entire corner. We're taking that corner around upwards between 110 to 115 miles an hour, so on average 112. So in that corner, you can really feel the G-forces in the cars. I think we're pulling 2.5 Gs through that corner. So you can really feel the G-forces of the car, really feel what the car is really capable of doing. And with that becomes neck muscles. And when you do that, you can actually feel your head and like the whole rest of your body kind of float towards the passenger seat, even though you're not actually going there. And a lot of drivers' tendency, instead of, what we say is the seat needs to hold you together, a lot of drivers have a tendency to like kind of grip harder and like be over anxious because of that. And next thing you know, they're holding onto the steering wheel with like a death grip, and it actually really hurts your arm muscles, especially your forearm. You're using more muscle than you really need to be doing. But you should be using your muscle to steer the car and fight it, and not hold your body together when you're going through a corner. So when we really go into that corner, go ahead.
Well, I guess I never thought about it that way. That you're absolutely right. If you're holding yourself in place as opposed to a proper fitting seat, proper fitting steering wheel, and driving position, yes, I guess I didn't think about that. You're not going to be able to max perform that vehicle. Absolutely.
That's why most people, when they get cars like the Radical itself or any like open wheel cockpit car or open wheel car, they have custom fitted seats. So that way we're not sliding around and we're not having to use our arms to hold our bodies up. We're able to use our arms to drive the car like it's supposed to be done, instead of like using our arms for two things instead of one.
Right, that makes sense. And so just a quick G rundown for our listeners. G's are the gravitational force, often referred to as G forces. We live at 1 G. The G acceleration we live at, if we drop a ball, it's 9.8 meters per second off the Leaning Tower of Pisa. If we drop a bowling ball, or we drop a BB, they land at the same time. So the G forces are acting exactly the same on every object. Those G forces are generally pulling us down to the center of the earth. However, when we are in a car or an airplane and we're changing that course, we then apply G forces in this case, in an automobile, lateral Gs, back and forth and forward and back, as opposed to longitudinal Gs, which would be like in an airplane. If you were rolled an airplane 90 degrees to the ground and turned, then the blood and internal organs and everything else, they want to get driven to your feet. And in a car, when we're going around a turn at a high G level, the blood's moving left, the blood's moving right, it's moving forward and moving back. So all that liquid in your body, and including your internal organs, all get shifted and pulled upon. So it's not just the exoskeleton. I guess we don't have an exoskeleton, but it's not really. But it's not really just the outer part. Just our arms moving around. It's everything, including the blood, like I mentioned, in your head. So it takes very little blood pressure to keep that. There's not a ton of blood pressure to keep the blood up in your head. So a blood pressure available, so it does want to move and slosh around. As weird as that sounds, right?
Yeah.
As
You
weird
don't
as
really
that
think of that of your human body until you actually start talking about it and realize, wow, that actually does that when we're doing all this stuff. I mean, your body goes through a lot when you're driving a car or going upside down in an airplane. You know, you don't realize it, but it does go through a lot.
It does, and 2 G's is quite a bit. I mean, a roller coaster, they say a roller coaster might get up to, at the bottom, might get up to 3.5 G's. The lateral G's, moving left and right, your body can't necessarily withstand a bunch of that stuff because you're just getting thrown around, and then of course that goes into how much grip your tires have, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So back to that was a little side note on exactly what the G forces are and how they might apply to the body when they're pushed to the limit, you might say. And you're reading these. I mean, your data acquisition equipment in your car is telling you exactly how many G's you're pulling, right?
Yes. So it tells us that we're pulling somewhere up to 2 to 3 G's at most is what we're pulling. Yeah,
that's getting up to the uncomfortable range for sure. I mean, people can kind of sit through 2 G's. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but 3, you're really getting. Most people don't like that. 4,
yeah,
they don't like that. I pulled 10.2 G's one time, so that's in an aircraft. So that's my record. You can't sustain that very long. You won't be conscious. But that was an overshooting G in a fighter airplane, an F-16 that was limited to 9. But sometimes you get overshoots a little bit on that. But riding in radicals, I do find that it is, and I can only. The way I describe it is it's violent. It's a definite roller coaster ride. Yeah, I don't like roller coasters, but I do like radicals and fighter airplane and aerobatic airplanes. But I don't like roller coasters.
How does that go?
I know, as weird as that is. Much to my wife, who loves roller coasters, chagrin, who wants to take me on. No, I'm not getting on that. But anyway, so back to driving. Mm-hmm. What type of fitness program do you think equates, particularly in your situation? I know you had mentioned all the above: strength training, resistance training, and cardiovascular. How do you work? Do you work something that's just an all-over fitness program, or do you really try to make it specific a driving program?
I'm normally more of an all-around kind of fitness program, so I'll work at all-around types of parts of my body. But really, when it comes to driving, there's a couple parts that you need to really and focus on the most, and that's kind of what happens to me. Like I'll do cardio workouts, and then I'll do strength training workouts. But when I do strength training workouts, I'll do like maybe an arm day one day, leg day another day. But in between those 2 days, I'm gonna dedicate a certain part to driving wise. So when I do arm, I'm gonna work on arm workouts that dedicate towards driving. If I'm going to do leg workouts, I'm going to dedicate leg workouts towards driving. So everything's going to be dedicated towards a driving standpoint. But your main muscle that for drivers, as we touched on before, is your neck muscle. Your neck muscle is really what keeps you together and keeps your head up straight. And without your neck muscle, you're just like toppling over, your neck's like this, getting whipped around and everything. So it's really important to have a strong neck muscle. I heard a story on this one time. It was from one of Lewis Hamilton's, or actually I don't think it was Lewis Hamilton. It was Tony Kanaan, who was an IndyCar driver. One of his strength workouts for a neck muscle is he will turn on his TV, sit on the couch, lay down sideways, 90 degrees sideways, and put a pillow where he normally would have his head rest, and have it sitting upright, and then he has his head hover over that pillow and doesn't have it lay on the ground. So he just sits there 90 degrees, watches TV, and just has his head hovering over the pillow to strengthen a neck muscle. And he'll do both sides while he just watches TV. He'll do one way, and then he'll switch over and go the other way. So that way he gets both sides of his neck and actually trains both neck muscles here.
Okay, so I'm going to try that as soon as we get off, and I'm going to guess that I'm not going to be able to do that for very long.
It will not last 5 minutes. I guarantee you. It will not last 5 minutes.
That big.
You're like, okay, does this seem hard? It feels easy. Once you try it, your neck starts to burn and it hurts.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna give that. So all the listeners, give that a shot, give that a try, and see.
Just see how it feels.
See how it feels. Holding your neck, lay down, hold your neck parallel to the ground, unsupported.
Yes, and you have to hold it up. You cannot. It's just hovering. It's a lot harder than you think it is.
Wow. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I train and teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is a constant battle of someone trying to choke and rip your head off of your neck. And so I do think, bridging and moving and rolling and bumping, I do think I have a strong neck, but that sounds difficult. And I don't think I can. Anyway, I'll see. As soon as I get done, I'll see.
It's difficult once you try it, but you always got to give it a whirl just to see how it actually is. But going back to my regular workout program, what I'll do is when I go to a gym or do it at home, I'll normally do long distance running to build up endurance because I'm trying to train myself to do long races because once you get up towards the professional level, the races just get longer. Mm-hmm. So for me, I try to run as much as I can. I've recently been doing 3-mile runs, 3.5-mile runs to 4-mile runs. I'll just do that. That takes about maybe upwards between 30 to 40 minutes, which is almost equivalent to the length of a radical race as of now. So, just run for that much. Like we said, get up to 3.5 to 4 miles. After that, we take like a little bit of a break, 5-minute break, if anything, just to kind of get the breath back to us and then regain energy. And then one of my favorite drills that I like to do is with a medicine ball, and we go over to our stretching area, grab a medicine ball, and then I sit upright like I'm driving a car, like I'm in the seat of a car, and I'll have the medicine ball that has the 2 handles on the side. We'll literally extend it out like I'm driving a steering wheel, and don't just turn left and right, act like I'm turning, and just keep going over left and right, and you can feel in like your forearm right here all the muscles being used with that medicine ball, because when you're using a medicine ball, it's a lot heavier than what an actual steering wheel will be. So you're actually building the muscles to turn the wheel, so when you do turn after a long period of time, your muscles don't get tired. So it's all an endurance type of factor.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's very. It sounds great. That sounds like awesome. Now you're also, in addition to racing, I mean, let's talk a little bit about your other skills. So you played tennis a long time, and you're pretty good at playing tennis. Mm-hmm. And how did that? Just real quick, when did you start playing tennis?
So I started playing tennis back when I was in 8th grade, I want to say, 7th grade. I just took lessons and all. I wasn't really playing competitively at all. And then I tried playing off because I was playing baseball at the time. So the tennis swing and the baseball swing were kind of cohesive with each other. So they were basically the same. I tried trying out for my high school baseball team my freshman year. Fortunately didn't make it, and I decided, this is probably what was meant to be, so I went for tennis, and I turned out to be a really good tennis player for my tennis team in high school. So I still kept the dream of baseball, though, so I played in the summer for baseball, and then I had the opportunity to go again for baseball in sophomore year, although unfortunately I wasn't going to be playing, but I would probably be sitting on the bench, but I would be able to make the team my sophomore year. And I decided I'd rather be playing than just sit on the bench, so I went to go to tennis. And I stayed tennis throughout the rest of my high school career. Got a bit of a scholarship to the University of St. Francis, where I'm at now. Played tennis my freshman year there. And then I realized that tennis practice and racing were starting to get cohesive with each other, so they were starting to overlap schedules. And I decided I needed to commit to one thing and one thing only. I can't be doing 2 things at once. And I love racing more than tennis, so I left the tennis and came to racing.
Interesting, but I just wanted to mention that you're quite an all-around athlete. It's not just racing at you, but it is the tennis that I know that you really enjoyed and played at a very very competitive level.
Yes, and it's a good thing that you brought up the tennis, because the tennis is actually one of the reasons on how my endurance level was actually able to build. Because in tennis matches, you can go for like for professional level tennis matches, they can go for like upwards to 2.5 hours to 3.5 hours if they wanted to. But in my matches that we used to play 2 out of 3 sets, for those of you tennis fanatics who know what that means. Those matches can go between an hour and a half to 2 hours long. So that's a long endurance match. And when you're running around, you only get like maybe 30 to 45 second breaks in between points. It takes a toll on your body. And that allows me to be able to have that endurance and have that where I'm not gasping for breath at like the 30-minute mark of a race or 40-minute mark coming to the end. I still have a lot of energy left in me that I can still push forward. So the tennis really built the endurance level to another level that I didn't think it was able to like exceed. So now I'm able to continue on with that as the racing goes on with my cardio and endurance running that I've been doing when I go to work out in my training sessions. So now I can get even further in races.
Outstanding. Yeah. I can see how that, transitioned very well to the fitness required to get to the high level of driving that you're doing. So, well, thanks for being on the podcast today. Very informative. I look forward to. So anyway, tell us what's coming up before we sign off here. What's coming up for you in the next few weeks?
So we have another off week. This is going to be my last off week before we go on for a little bit. After that, I believe I have a radical race here at the Audubon on September 14th. And then the following week after that, there's a kart race that same weekend, the 15th, the day after. So I'm going to be doing doubleheader duty that weekend. And then the weekend after that is we're going to be heading off to California for round 5 of the Blue Marble Cocktails Radical Cup Series on Sonoma, California.
Yeah, so, well, enjoy your another off weekend, and I'm going to be in New York City with my daughter, so and my son has a freshman retreat to go to for school. So we will be at the track the following week, driving back and forth. We have a wedding to go to, but I'm going to get everybody up there early Saturday to practice. Yeah. Run back down to Central Illinois for a wedding, and then back up Sunday for the race. So yeah, it'll be a fast-paced weekend, but we'll make it. I need a helicopter. So I need. So anyway, Jordan, thanks for being on the show again, and we'll talk to you next week.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, John.